All right, we're preparing to go live.
No
I'll let
worries.
you know once we're on. It usually still tapes anyway, so and then you'll be like,
pre-recorded is like, are we live? Are we ready? Are we live? Don't worry, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. We know we're live. We're not live. Maybe we're not. Okay, we're just
right?
gonna
Then
talk.
to find out that you're actually live. All right, so it says preparing. I'll tell you.
No worries. No worries. That's the drink.
All right. Still says preparing, so.
All right.
Yeah, and I don't see it yet.
How's your day been so far? And because
what's that?
How's your day been so far? Has your day been well? How's your day been so far?
Yeah, my day's been going pretty well so far. So I work remotely, so I get to kind of make my own schedule.
Love it.
I've been, doing things here and there, but I was mostly prepping for the show because I was beside myself to say that, I'm so excited about this. So wanted to make sure I had everything ready to go.
Preparation is key. I keep telling people, preparation is key. Preparation is key.
Absolutely. All right. Oh, why it's taking so long for us to get on? Let's see. Oh, maybe I was supposed to do this. Oh, that's why. Ooh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Yes. Let me add a title real quick.
Oi, saw the live little sign on Facebook. Yes, how we doing, guys? I think we're live in the building.
All right.
Let's get it.
All right, awesome. Welcome, MRT family and friends. I'm super excited to have Chris Pedri, OBE, with us here today. If y'all only know how hard I've been working to get this young fellow on here, and you can probably tell.
Hard. No, I'm not gonna lie. Be my fault, guys. She's been working extremely hard. But I just want to say, first and foremost, I thank you so much. I see you. I appreciate you. We love you, and I see what you're doing. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
And so you could probably already see my excitement for having Chris on here. Just a breath of fresh air with the work that he's doing, all the activism, particularly for our young folks. And that's near and dear to me because I'm an educator. And so I know how important it is to have positive male role models in our communities. And with that, I did a segment 2 weeks ago called Motherhood and Raising Black Sons, where we had, again, mentors, entrepreneurs, educators, fathers on that episode, and also Lisa Norwood, who was an organizer for this organization called Single Mothers Raising Sons. And so we had a really bold conversation about, what we need to do to prepare our young boys for the world today. And as a mother, I felt as if I couldn't necessarily prepare him 100% because we cannot fully understand the experience of a Black male child. And so with that, we got so many gems of wisdom for the males that were on, and Lisa that was on the panel. And we felt like the conversation needed to keep going. We got a really, big sort of following, and folks were very excited to get the information that we got, but more so, it created more understanding, in terms of what we can do as parents in supporting the development of our children. But I didn't want the conversation to stop there, because it's yes, we're doing things in our home, but we know that's not enough. What are the things we need to do in our communities to make sure that we're continuing to support the development of our young Black boys? And so I knew that Chris was the right person to start that conversation with, because he's been having direct conversations with the youth, understanding, getting the feedback from the mouth of the babies, right? What are the things that we need, and how we as a part of that village can support in that. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Chris to share first a little bit about himself, and then what drove him to the work that he's currently doing. So Chris, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you. My name is Chris Preddy OBE, guys. I started off in a small kind of community like everybody else, like dad wasn't really around. Grew up with my two sisters and my mum. And there was a lot of challenges that I faced, because obviously my mum knew what she had to do to get me out of certain areas. And she tried to also send me to a school that was out of the area. And I will touch a little bit on that, because that's when the racism comes into to play as well for a young Black male. So growing up, not having a father, automatically you get an sense of, you feel like you need to be the man of the house. Now, no one says it, but innately, you start to feel like, I need to be the man of the house. And if you do not have a strong role model, and this is the reasons why I say to women all the time, it's very easy just to feel that emotion of, I'm a single mother, I'm independent, I'm fighting, I'm working hard. That is amazing, and we need that. We need that nurturing side. We need that understanding for us to even feel loved. But sometimes our boys need that protection, need that understanding that a male is going to give that you can never, ever give, no matter how much you try. And there's missing nuances that we miss within that understanding. So when I was growing up, having that lack of father, I was brought up by a woman. Now, that's amazing. My mom's a strong Black woman, but hear me, I was brought up with a woman's analogy. It's not a bad analogy, but it's not a woman's analogy, not a male's. So therefore now, I am now formulating myself of an understanding of what a female thinks, not knows, thinks I should be doing. That's difficult on a young man from the get-go. It's different from a young man where he doesn't have a father. So now he's looking at TV, he's looking at films, he's looking at other influencers to see what a father figure is. So if he's only getting one way, one taught, one learned. So now I'm looking at the streets. I'm seeing these guys, they're flossing around in big clothes and big I-am, and they're selling drugs, but I'm not seeing them being broken as well. I'm not seeing them knowing that they didn't have nothing. So I always say to people, as much as we feel like our men are not stepping up, our men are not being counted, and I feel like they're not, but there's a percentage of men and a percentage of us is, how do you know any better if you've never been taught? If you've never, picture a man that feels like he's doing the right thing, but he doesn't even know if he's doing the right thing because he's never been shown. So second nature, he's going to lash out. Second nature, he's going to act with aggression. He's going to act with another substance because he's never been taught to share that emotion. And a lot of the times when I was growing up as a man, to share emotion was weak. to share emotion was, you're not a real man. So a lot of our women need to praise our men when we step up, when we come to you and say, yo, babes, I'm kind of feeling a little bit, you know, a little bit dairy. Don't shun him away, like, what, me? What's... You ask for men to show their emotions, and when they do, you shun them away. We need to allow our men to feel like it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel emotion. Because just as much as we say women is emotional and men is logic, no, it ain't. Men are emotional and logical beings as well. Women are logical and emotional beings as well. So it's about having that balance. And me growing up and not having that was a really, really tough time. And then seeing the crime, then seeing the wrong role models, then losing my brother at the age of 16, 4 days after my birthday. Growing up around my lifestyle, when people hear my story, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe what you went through. But I don't even see it as bad. It was normal. Like, if you're seeing something every single day, until someone takes you outside the box or something different, then how can you tell me that I'm living anything different? You know, that woman that was on drugs or whatever, that was, you know, druggy Caroline, but it wasn't druggy Caroline to us. It was just Caroline. She was just on drugs. So it was events of things that our young males constantly see. If you're constantly seeing negativity, if you're constantly seeing a certain way of living, then you are bound to follow suit. You are bound to start seeing. I always said it starts from looking out from the window, you know, seeing what's going on outside. Mummy hasn't come home yet. Mummy's finding it a little bit difficult to get home because she's struggling to put the bills and the roof over the head. So that's even hard. But we used to have a community where I used to be outside and I had my neighbors like, all right, right, that's it, get in. I'm like, what? She like, get in my ass until your mum comes. We don't have that understanding no more. We look at so many children, and what breaks my heart is because we see this case scenario happen day in, day out. And this is across the world. You will see a young person, about 9, 10, smoking cigarettes, swearing, profanities, and you're looking at him thinking, wow, what a naughty little boy. I'm glad it ain't my child. And you carry on walking. But guess what? 9 years later, that child is causing a nuisance in your community. That child has robbed probably half of your houses. That child has probably now stabbed one of your children. And now you want to stand up and uproar. Now you want to be like, oh, I always knew that he was going to go to prison. I always knew this was going to happen. But why didn't you not intervene at that time when he was 9 years old? Why don't we intervene? We knew his mother wasn't doing the best, but we sit there and point fingers at people. Oh, look at her. Look what she's doing. We're quick to put someone down, but we're not quick to pick them up. You see, she was struggling. So that is us as a duty. Shame on us. Shame on the community for seeing something and not stepping up. Shame on you. These are small little things that we should talk about. We talk about it takes a community to raise a child, but we walk past them every single day on the streets because it's not your child, because it's not your nephew, because it's not your problem. And then you start giving me, you know, the devil's advocate talk, you know, the ones there. Oh, what if they stab me? Why are you taking it to the extreme? Because you fantasize on what the media says. These are our children. They're not demons. They don't run around and just automatically just want to. No, it's communication. How do you communicate with people? If you disrespect me, I'm going to feel disrespected. So I'm probably going to act a different kind of way. But we put up certain little barriers because it makes us feel better. But then you're quick to film a young person being stabbed and killed, not picking up 999, not dialing 911. You're filming it. And you say, I'm raising awareness. To who? To what? To glorify the media's narrative. To make them shun down on our community and tell us how bad we are already. So that's convenient. That's convenient that you're doing their job. But then you're the first person to point and say, no one's helping us. No one's helping us. It's funny how Black Lives Matter when we are getting mistreated by the government, by the police. But Black lives don't matter when we're killing ourselves. Black lives don't matter then. No one don't want to put up their hand and march. No one doesn't want to look around and feel like, hold on a minute, we're losing our boys. And this is history, you know. This is lineages. This is certain parents that have one son. Now he doesn't have no kids. That history is now gone. Their bloodline is now over. Are we not thinking about what's going on right now? But we want to talk about other issues and other topics that don't benefit us within our community. It's all clickbait. We was just on Will Smith and Jada the other day. Wow, really? Really? The big word of the day was entanglement? Really? Oh, it's funny, that's convenient because 6 weeks ago, you was telling me I love you, brother. You was telling me I love you, sister. But now we're slating everybody back down again. Okay, back to normal. Shame on us. We point a lot of fingers and we ask and we wish for things. There needs to be more people in power. We need to change this. You don't even stand up yourself. You're not even ready to stand up yourself to be counted, but you want so many things to be changed. It's funny that. Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, let me just interject for a minute. You know, so much of what you just said really resonates with me, and it takes a while to kind of process everything that's happening, because I think that we know that there are systematic things that are in place to oppress, you know, our people, yes. But then there's a part of this argument, you know, that has to do with us as well, which is why I think it's important for us to sit down and try to understand what are the things that we also need to do to make sure that we're uplifting our own communities. We can't ask for these things from the people, right, if we're also not doing our part in our communities. And so I think, particularly this conversation about raising our Black men, young kings, we too have to understand the experience. And so what you just said was exactly what came up during that conversation, which is that despite the fact that you had a mom that was strong, you know, you knew she was doing her best, there was still parts of you that was missing. There was that representation of a male. It was that connection of a male. You know, the conversation that you have about certain experiences with someone that it resonates with. And so, and then there's also the perception as a mom, you know, where you're like, well, you know, raising a boy is then different from it really is raising a girl. And here are the things I need to make sure I do here, because society has said to you that your boy has to be strong. He has to be this, he has to be that. And then, you know, you unconsciously create these other gaps in his development because you didn't recognize how important it was. And funny enough, every man that was on that panel came back to, you know, wanting to ensure that their words of affirmation to our young Black men ain't just talking about his physical strength, but about the power of his mind.
His mental that is the most important thing for me. I feel like the amount of times that a young person sees negativity, it breaks my heart. I say to parents all the time, it's like, how much positive affirmation that young person receive a day? You know, sometimes it's hard as a parent. You're a single mother, you're trying to get to work, you might be shy a little bit. Hurry up, get your bag, like, get in the car. Like, you're gonna make me late. That's negative affirmations. He gets into school, the teachers are on him. You know what's there? You're not gonna amount to nothing. You're not gonna be nothing. You're not gonna be in anybody. He's outside in the playground. People are probably laughing at his trainers, or he hasn't probably got the best clothes. That's more negative affirmation. He goes online. He sees his own young peers being stabbed, being brutalized, being victimized. He goes home, playing these computer games, Call of Duty, and all these negative connotations again. And he might get, love you, good night, son. Wow.
Yep. And again, it's, you know, to be having this conversation with you and having that conversation 2 weeks ago, there's so many parallels. And so now it's like, well, it's coming from, you know, every single male that I've talked about to say, this was the thing that was likely missing from my experience. And this is why it's so good to bring these conversations to the forefront, because now we can proactively start doing those things. You know, let's talk about, you know, ensuring that our sons feel emotionally secure. It's okay for them to be able to talk about their feelings. It's okay for them to feel a certain way and express it. You know, it's okay for them to cry. It still shows strength when you're able to articulate your feelings. And so I'm glad that this kind of dialogue is happening now, but you also named some other important things around how essentially, you know, we think about children that we may see that are not yet on the right path, but as a part of the village, we're not doing our part because that's not my kid. So, you know, I'm not necessarily going to do anything to then combat that challenge. But then when that child, you know, stays on that wrong path, and then it now starts to impact the community or you, the person, in a negative way, then it then becomes an even bigger issue. And so I think that, you know, it for you to kind of say it in those layman terms, I think it also opens the eyes of others to say, even though he's not biologically mine, he's still ours. He's still ours.
Because we all want to live in a great community. You want your children to be safe. You want your children to know that If you're doing that, you want to know that someone else is going to be doing that for your child. And it's just about looking out for each other. That's how we raise our village.
And these cops don't discriminate, right? It's like, you know, it becomes, you know, here is sort of what the image is, you know, of a young Black male. And so that's going to be generalized all across, you know, for everybody.
I'm glad that you said that, because there's a lot of people that sit there and be like, well, my young Black child, he's fine, he's educated, he knows what to do, he knows how to handle himself. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you're spoken. It doesn't matter how articulate yourself. It doesn't matter. We all know, just by the color of your skin, you're automatically being stereotyped. I walk down the street sometimes, I've got my hoodie on and anything, I'm automatically stereotyped. They don't know I got OBE. They don't know that I met the Queen. They've just thrown me against the wall. That's it. They don't care. They just see a young Black male, and far as their concern is, you guys rob and steal and commit crimes. Okay. But 12% of us, yeah? And the rest is the population is you. And we commit all the crimes. So we allow ourselves to feed ourselves with their lies. I don't pick up no label. Don't give me no label. You see that N word? No. That's not even me in a genuine me greeting my brother. Don't call me that. I don't pick up label. That's not my label. I'm not picking up that label. I am not a criminal. I'm not picking up that label. I'm not aggressive. I'm not picking up that label. So we need to allow ourselves to not pick up the nuances that other people try and shine onto us. That's your insecurities, not mine. We need to believe in ourselves a lot more. And what we don't do, we don't show worth to our own. We show worth to everybody else. And it breaks my heart, because we're the first person to complain at any businesses, any Black businesses that you hear and everything. You've got the first person saying, oh, but where's the money going? Oh, but how much? How comes it's so much money? Oh, why are you even questioning it? Even if it is, pay the money. Support that business, because you wouldn't say that if you went into Gucci store. You wouldn't say that if you went into a Nike store. You'll just pick it off the rack and you'll just pay for it. And guess what? You don't ask them where their money's going. You don't ask them how they're giving back into your community, because they don't. They don't do fair trade, because they don't. But you would rather spend your £500, but you wouldn't spend a £500 in a Black business. That hurts me, because we sit there and say that, oh, I'm about village, I'm about supporting, and you don't. You go back to McDonald's. That don't make no sense.
So talk to me. So, you know, you had a very humble beginning, and I can hear your passion in terms of how we talk about mobilizing the community and making sure that we're giving back to our own. And so now you're running this organization. Talk to us about, tell us the name of your organization, and then talk to us about the current movement in your organization. I know you had something called MAD, Make a Difference, right? That's what the acronym means. And then you also did the 15-man march. Tell us a little bit about your organization and the work that you've been doing to then mobilize our communities to do exactly what you're saying, putting action to the words and the frustration that we're feeling right now.
I think what is important, 10 years ago as a young man, I went to school, I suffered with dyslexia. I was told I was going to amount to nothing. By the age of 16, I didn't get great grades. I was at a job centre, which is the benefit office, where you get support from the government, because I didn't have nothing. I was kicked out at the age of 16.5, 17 on the streets, lost my brother. And that was a turning point for me to understand that when you're in life, and a lot of the times when people tell you you're not going to amount to anything, it's near enough, that's the time and the moments where you need others. You need others to pick them up and give them that positive affirmation. And if it wasn't for a youth worker, and he just saw me and he just said, Chris, I want to change your life. I feel like you need to put yourself in the right position. He took me back to college, got me my qualifications to get into university. I went into university. Once I went into university, I decided to study performing arts. Now, I didn't know what performing arts was. And some of you guys don't be judging me. I didn't know what performing arts was. So I've got there as a young boy, 18, trying to change my life around on that transition. And I've walked into the class, and 9 o'clock in the morning, the woman was like, hi guys, who's ready for ballet? I said, ballet? Not me, not today. Who's doing ballet? I looked at the youth worker like, bro, like what? No ballet, no ballet. And it was such a raw element for me, because I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm from the streets. Like, the woman tried to give me leggings. I was like, no, I'm not wearing no leggings. And a guy came out of a toilet, and he had pop socks on, leggings on, and he was no flamboyant. He was like, all right, let's go. I said, no, not today, not with me, not with me. And I remember me getting really, really upset. And I said to him, like, you know, if you look at me, I will hit you, bro, and rare. And then he turned to me and he goes, you're not my type. And I got so offended. I said, wait, take one more look, just in case. Why you don't like, I don't want you to like me, but I do want, I was so complex, but it allowed me to break down that barrier and say that there's nuances, there's a new life around here, Chris. It's not just your area, it's not just that mindset that you grew up with. And that allowed me to be in that space to then finish university, get my degree. And then when I left, I said to myself, I'm going to set up my own company. And I remember everyone was like, you don't know what you're doing. You can't set up your own company. And I hate the fact that we put on so many barriers. It makes it seem like you need thousands of pounds. It makes it seem like, you know, you need a big office space. No, you need, well, in the UK, it was something like 16 pounds. It might be like $18 to you guys, $18 and some heart. $18 and some heart and some willpower. And that's what it was. So I set up my company called Make Dreams Reality. I got dressed in the morning. I said, right, that's it. Work starts today. And nothing happened, guys. I'm not going to lie. Nothing happened. The phone didn't ring. I was like, what? What's going on? I realized I got to put in work. Okay. But that was the initial first point. And I said to myself, today is going to be the day that I change. Today is going to be the day that I set an example. And I've been running that for 10 years, going into schools, colleges, prisons, youth clubs, all around the UK, all around London, and supporting our young people. And I remember someone said to me that I wouldn't be able to have a limited company. I wouldn't be able to not get funding. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself and show my worth. And I've been able to do that to a point. I'm the highest within my field of what I do. And that was just me having the ambition to go and do that. So that's Make Dreams Reality. And then I said to myself, we've got to set by example. Too much of us talk, and I'm online talking as well. And I'm like, we've got to set by example. So that's when the mad came involved, because I was like, I'm mad to make a difference. I'm not mad to just be mad anymore. I'm mad to make a difference. I need to rise up. I need to get out there. So then I said to myself, all right, Chris, you're making a difference. And then since I started to make a difference, I started to see the ripple and grow of people that wanted to support that. And then obviously this year, what happened with George and everything else, I was like, okay, I'm mad to make a difference, but I need to be unapologetic now. Because there's a difference between I'm making a difference every single day and you're not really understanding the nuances of I need to be unapologetic and stand from what I stand for. Because it's very easy to get shaded off by someone else's comment or someone else's views or someone else's understanding. So I stood up, I said, all right, I'm gonna be unapologetic. I'm gonna do the 50-man march. And I'm gonna go out into these communities, because we was marching on the streets in the UK. We was marching around our big towns and Parliament Square and outside the government office and the buildings. But our young boys are dying within our communities and no one's marching around there. No one's walking around there to try and talk to our young people. So I was like, do you know what? I'm not going down there. I'm gonna march in the areas that matter. I'm gonna march in the communities that are the hardest to reach, that are the hot spots socially that people keep saying. And I'm gonna go in there. And I'm gonna go in there unannounced. People keep telling me about, you gotta check in with these road guys. I don't check in with no one. Because my understanding and their understanding is a totally different understanding to me. I'm not coming here to avenge or anything. I ain't coming here to be coming with aggression. I ain't coming here to tell you anything different apart from I love you. Majority of the boys can't even understand it when I go to them and I'm like, bro, I love you. I see you and I thank you. And then I walk away and he's looking at me like, but you didn't ask me for nothing and you didn't tell me off and you didn't shout at me. No, I've got to build that nuance. I've got to build it first. I've got to build back that rapport. Because guess what? For too many generations, we've been slacking off. Too many generations, we've just been pointing the finger saying, oh, well, you know, it wasn't like that back in our day. Oh, these are the lost generation. Do you know if when we keep saying they're the lost generation, that psychologically, like they start to believe it? Your subconscious doesn't know whether it's a truth or a lie. So when you keep saying to our young people, you're lost, let's focus on the 9-year-olds. Yes, we do, but that's a big gap. No matter what you do, you can't replace that generation. So we need to build that generation. You can do all you want with the 9-year-olds, but that 9-year-old is still going to be looking up to that same generation that you don't want to interact with. That's a mad. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm saying now with the mad movement and unapologetic. It was just like, start setting it by example. I think too much of us like to point the finger and none of us are really standing up and being counted. And it's small little things. This is just me taking the time for 2-3 hours to come out of my community where I majority walk down the street all the time. I majority walk around the park all the time. And on a Pacific day, I'm choosing to engage in my community.
Yeah. I wanted to build on that point because you sort of have the strategy called the 4-point strategy, where the first is to engage, the second is to listen, the third is to build support, and then the fourth is solution. So help me to kind of like walk through this, because I'm curious to also understand, you know, what the youths are saying to you, because I remember watching this documentary, and they had a group of children that were talking about, they were teenagers, and they were talking about their experiences. And one of the things that stood out to me was that, you know, back in the day, and again, you know, for children in general, their experiences are different. So what their fears are may be different. But nowadays, those lines are starting to cross, particularly for Black children. And one of the things that stood out in that conversation was that I'm not anxious about bullying anymore in school. Like, I'm more anxious about being killed by cops. And so I'm just curious to understand, based on the work that you're doing now, what is the consistent fear or the things that are coming out of the mouths of young children as it relates to their fears in society today?
Within the UK, as always, we've definitely got a police problem, stop and search. Obviously, they don't have fire weapons, but it is very, very concerning of the police brutality that we're facing. Very much tasers, batons, just really mistreating other young Black males in the way that they shouldn't be treated. Like, you know, they're going to the police cells, they're getting beaten up and stuff like that. And we've really got a huge knife problem. I think a lot of young people are scared about the stop and search because they feel like they're injustice, and they just get stopped and searched because they're Black. And then when they get stopped and searched, it's how they go about it. There is no ethic, there's no taking pride in someone's understanding of, you're making me look like a criminal and I'm not a criminal. So you're making my community and everybody else perceive me as something that I'm not. And I understand that you need to do your job, and I understand that you need to do certain things. So we train our young people to take your phone out and be very calm and ask for certain information. And then they do that, and the policeman officer starts grabbing the phone, and it drops on the floor, and then he's getting, but I've told him to do that. Now all of a sudden I've told him to do the right way, and that still doesn't work. So how do you apply it to a young person when a young person's telling me, I'll do that? I'm telling the guy, look, I'm taking out my phone, officer. He's reaching for something. I've just told you. My hands are like this. Why are you still grabbing? So it's all of that kind of understanding. And we've got a huge knife problem. We've got a very, very huge knife problem within the UK, without at least 5 stabbings a day within the UK that were rising right now. But the toll of the violence, and the violence of knife crime as well, as you can imagine, up close, personal. These are young boys, 14, 15. There was a young boy just on my Instagram on Saturday. It's lucky that people like myself are able to have these platforms, but he messaged me and said, Chris, I'm on the way to hospital. I've just been stabbed on the way home. That's the reality of what is happening every single day. And then I'm talking to him, and then he's like, I've got to go back. I can't make them score a point on me. I've got to go back. He's 15. He's already been stabbed. He's already feeling threatened for his life. He doesn't feel safe in his community. Do you know how that makes me feel? I can't even imagine what he's going through. And I've got to tell him, don't go back. Don't do it. Really? Do you know what I'm feeling right now? Not even just anger. Not even just, oh, I just want to get back. Do you know how scared and deep down and the trauma that I am facing right now? But I've got told that I'm a man and I must stand up and be counted. And the only way to be counted is to react. And the only way to react is with aggression. Because I was told when I was younger, if someone hits you, you hit them back. We don't teach our kids to communicate. We don't teach our kids to express themselves. So when you tell your child, as a child, if someone hits you, you hit them back. That might make sense when they're in preschool. That might make sense when they're in nursery. But when they get to the adult, that is a criminal charge. That is now GBH in UK, ABH, that's grievous bodily harm. You've now got a criminal record. So we're not teaching.
That right there, just to interject, because I want to stamp that right there, Chris, because that is so true. And I'm a former school principal, and I'm a current administrator now. And I remember having to have conversations like that with parents around the things I said, whatever you say to your child, it's a lesson now, right? You're building habits. And so whenever there's an interaction, you know, in school, Because school is the microcosm of what they're going to experience in the world. And so if you're saying if this person hits you, you got to hit them back. That's what I teach my child. Then you're telling them outside of these four walls, when the world treats them differently, this is the way they should react. And when they get to be 15, 16, it's not constituted the same way.
Exactly.
And so I think that statement right there will also hit home for a lot of parents that are watching this right now who likely had that mindset before that. You know, we got larger issues, yes, that we're trying to, you know, work through as it relates to, again, you know, the system demonizing and criminalizing Black men, but we also have to recognize what is our part in some of this when it comes to, you know, the things that we are imparting as it becomes, or the things that we're reinforcing unconsciously when we're always constantly talking about, you know, again, your strength and physical aggression whenever something happens where there's a disagreement with someone else. But my question to you is, because I know you have your organization, you see these issues happening within the community, and you have your organization to support not just sort of like what's happening now, you know, in the reactive phase, but also proactively, you know, because we know we have to start these teachings early on. So it becomes that's the embedded, you know, that's embedded in their character.
Yes.
But what can we do, you know, as a part of that village to support that work that you're doing? Again, the part around sort of like being conscious of how we're parenting, you know, because that's going to help when essentially society sees them. But we also know, right, like you can give them all the lessons, but your skin color still, you know, has this negative connotation that's associated with it. But what are the things that we can continue to do in our communities to support this kind of work?
Having self-worth. I believe that if you see someone, no matter whether it's myself, another young man, another young woman, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a business, whether it's a cupcakes, support us. Support that, whether it's a share, whether it's a like, that there can make a huge difference. Sometimes people don't even know, like by sometimes sending me a message and saying, Chris, thank you so much. You're amazing. I really, really appreciate you. And I'm thankful that you do these videos. They don't even know now I was able to inspire another 2,000 people just by that message because you've uplifted me. So sometimes it's not the big things. You don't have to always put money and always feel like you have to be stomping the streets. Sometimes it's just the smallest things that goes a long way. So showing our worth, being able to be counted on that front. If we're going to say that our lives matter, if we're going to say that we want to build, if we want to say that we want to develop, it's got to start with your mindset. I want you to change that mindset tomorrow and ask yourself, when you're scrolling on Instagram, ask yourself, who are you following? What are you gaining from that information? Ask yourself, what do you share? Is it more positive? Is it more negative? These are the kind of things that sometimes we allow it in our life without even realizing that we're accepting it. We've always a great believer of energy, and we always say to ourselves like, oh, that person's bad energy, or why don't we realize it on social media then? Even though you're watching it and you're sharing it, that's the connotation that you're having, is you're feeding that. And you're feeding that with your own life. You're feeding that with your own world. Now negativity, things are happening around you, is because what we're manifesting. So I will say support that. As much as if we're going to share it for awareness, share it in the times when you see a young person singing so beautifully with a ballad. Share it when a young person is uplifting themselves and saying that they just graduated from college. I want that to go viral. Share it when a young person's saying, do you know what, I've come from the rough, the dirt, the ugly, and I'm still trying to be better. Not just because that child is gifted, not just because that child is the best at what you do, just because that child is trying. Because we forget about the triers. And we look at the doers because we're like, oh, they're doing and I love them and you're an amazing dancer. What about the person that I haven't got a gift, but I'm just trying? I'm just standing up and trying to be counted. And every single day we look at the good ones and we say to ourselves, okay, you know, they're meant to be doing good. They're meant to be going to school and getting the good grades. And we praise the bad ones. And I can't understand we praise the bad ones when they start doing good, but praise the ones that are doing what they're meant to be doing. How dare you? How be selfish? Oh, well, he always does that. No, praise him. I'm proud of you, son. I'm proud of you, my girl. Thank you for doing the dishes. Thank you for doing that. It doesn't take nothing out of our time to say these kind of things, but it hurts us to say that we've got too much pride to say it. Why? Your child is not getting no more power than you for you feeling like, oh, I'm the mother. Why? But to give that nuance, to tell him that you appreciate him doing the dishes. Don't have to be boasting like, well, he's a child and he's got chores. And okay, that's fine as well. He needs to understand about life structure. He needs to understand about when he goes out there into the real world, this is the kind of things that you're going to have to do for yourself as a woman or a man. But guess what? Say thank you. Because we don't do that. And we allow our children to have a free life in the sense of, you know, you can't say nothing to your child anymore. Or you allow your child to be friends. Stop making your child friend. Your child is not your friend. Your child is your child. I understand. I love the fact that you guys have a great bond and a great communication. But if you're sitting there with your child having that understanding of, oh, shut up, mom, shut up, dad, shut up this and shut up that. And then they get to 17 and they're like, shut up, what? And then now you're flabbergasted. You're like, oh my God, how dare you talk to me like this? But you allowed that. When it was funny, it's not funny no more. We only accept what we.
One of the things that I'm hearing you saying, it's been a recurring theme, you know, about speaking positivity into our kids. And I keep connecting it back to, you know, once they leave our homes, they go out there and there's so much negativity that they're having to see. Like, this has to be their safe space. They have to recognize. And I also think it's a paradigm shift, particularly for African-American parents and culture. I'm of the Caribbean culture. And so I know, you know, this idea of kids stay in their place, but there's a shift because, you know, there has to be every conversation that you have with your child is a teachable moment. It's helping them to understand how they navigate the world and recognize too their self-worth, and people should not treat you a certain way once you leave.
So imagine now you've gave them that. You've gave them
power,
that. Yeah. When they go out there now, they're
already
equipped and they're ready to go. And I feel like some of us, don't get me wrong, like I said, there's a systematic thing that plays down on us. And it does. It hurts me, it stresses me out. I'm a teacher. I go into schools and I see that we're not getting educated. I see that our boys are always getting pushed back. When they was in primary school, they was the highest achievers. They get into like secondary school and the big boy schools, and then everything just falls down. What happened? What's going on? But you know what also happens as well? It's us that takes off the gas as well. It's like we expect someone else to teach them something that we feel that they should know. Teach them then. Grab a book. My mom used to grab a book and sit me down and teach me about my history. I didn't just learn about roots. I didn't just learn about, you know, the things that they put out to me. I learned about Linda Newman, you know, inventor. I learned about Benjamin Bunker that made Big Ben within the UK. I learned about historical things because I was already a proud man. So I was sitting there walking to school like, and I'm going to a predominantly white school, so I'm walking to the school like, you lot can't chat to me. Big Ben, the big London clock that we look at and everything else. Hey, behave yourself. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's what was powerful for me. And we had sometimes Sunday school when we was teaching like Pan-African and your history and all the rest of it. Yes, we need to hear it more within the schools. But guess what? Why are they going to scream your history when they're going to make them history look any great? So you're basically telling them, no, tell the whole truth. Okay, and if they do, what happens then? Now their kids feel inferior. Now their kids feel like they're not the powerful ones. Why would they do that? It's their house. Why would they change that narrative? Why would they make that narrative, if anything, different? We know about the Moors. We know it wasn't Christopher Columbus. Please behave yourself. We know why certain countries are called Morocco because of the Moors. I know why we are in England and we're able to use hygiene because they was throwing weed and out their window. Let's just keep it real. But if they say that, what does that do for them? What does that do for their lineage, their empire? So my whole question is to everybody else is, why would you go to someone's house and expect them to change the rules for you? Would you allow someone to come in your house and take half of what you got in your house? Would you allow someone to come in your house and put their trainers on your sofa? You probably wouldn't, but that's what we're asking them to do. Be civil, let us in, all the rest of it. I'm sick or tired of standing outside. Please, sir, can I have some more? But we've been standing outside for so many centuries, we could have made our own house.
Yeah.
For so long, we've been sitting here asking for equal rights, asking for civil, like we've been asking to be civil when we could have even built the own bricks of our own empire, of our own house. And we know it, but there's certain influencers that ain't stepping up. There's certain celebrities that ain't stepping up.
They allow us to think about the bling bling and the ice and life is all pretty and nice. But no one's sitting there saying, do you know what? How about if we just mobilize? How about if we just put our money together when we done the no spend day? And everyone's like, yay, look how much money they didn't get. But look at the money that we didn't get either. So where's that? That could have gone to our community. It was like 1 point something, it was crazy stuff. Could you imagine what that could have done? Could you imagine the schools? Could you imagine the banks? Could you imagine the development? Could you imagine the people being able to own their houses? All we want to feel is upliftment. We're too much of proud people. I want to feel proud. I want to feel able to put my head up high. I want to own my house. I want to work. I want to be strong. I don't want to beg for nothing. And they make it look like we're a society of beggars. No, we're not. But that's them wanting the system to work for them. Their system works for them. They need workers. They need that kind of understanding because that's how the rich stay rich. So how do we mobilize now?
Yeah, and I think that, you make an important argument around mobilizing. And I think even in this current movement, we're seeing some unprecedented things. And this is why we need young activists that can also connect, with young children so that they can too recognize their power. But I also think that coming out of this conversation, even previous conversations that I've had, this idea right now about educating ourselves and educating our children. Stop leaving it up to the schools to then do that, because you're right. When they step into a classroom and because you're going to have, teachers from all walks of life, and they're going to teach you how they understand it to be. But if you're already coming in armed with information, you can debunk any idea that or you can debate any idea that just doesn't make sense to you, but you got to already come in arming yourself with knowledge. And so again, that's another takeaway that I want to kind of push out to the audience so that we can start this level of mobilization, because like we said, we're in an unprecedented time when we're recognizing, as a people, that how much power we have within, our own domain, but we have to take control of those things if we're going to get to a place where we're owning our own things and we're putting a stop to what we're calling, systemic, oppression. And so, I think that let me say, because as you were also speaking, today I was watching. It was a post that someone had shared, and it was of a cartoon where they had a cop chasing, and I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
a young black boy. Yeah, and I'm just like, I was at a loss for words. And then, the comments started pouring in, and these were real thoughts people were having. It was like, well, there are people who just like, well, I don't know if I don't want my son to see this, because I want him to know, how society essentially views him. And I remember my own dilemma about what are the things I then talk to my son about, because it takes away a little bit of their joy and a little bit of their innocence, when you're having to show them these images and have these conversations. And so what are your thoughts about...
Why do our kids have to grow up so fast, but no one else's kids don't?
Right.
No other kids don't have to worry about walking down the street and not getting shot. Do you know that? Do you know, like, no race? I talk to my white friends, and they walk down the street and they say, I've never been stopped by the police. Never. They don't even... doesn't even come to their mind. So how is it that our young kids have to be prepared at such a young age to watch a cartoon and be like, right, son, this is a possibility that this could happen to you? It's sickening, but yes, it's real. Yes, it's happening. And they push it in our face because they don't care. You know why they don't care? Because we're not going to do nothing about it. Because when I mean not do nothing about it in the sense of, we're not going to do nothing about it in the sense of mobilizing ourselves then. Because there's, like you said, there's many sectors where we can drive our own narrative. We could start making our own cartoons. Oh, but God forbid if we do that and someone finds that it's a black organization, we don't support it. Oh, I don't really like it. And I don't really like the afro. And why did they put that jumper on him? But when they do it and they put the hoodie and everything, it's fine. But we do it, we want to have a problem with the understanding. So it's about, how do we drive the narrative? My whole question is, how do we start getting our stations? I feel like there was a once upon a time when everyone was like, we need to change this, we need to change this. Sometimes I always like, and this is something that I feel like I shouldn't even say now, is stop telling them everything. We're giving them the answers. Why are you telling them? So what, they can go and buy it and then sell it back to us? No, stop, shh, be quiet. Talking about, oh, we want our own channels. And shh. Shut up. Because one day they're just going to buy it, put everything black, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, let's wrap that. And then they're making the money. That doesn't make no sense. Everyone needs to be quiet now. Shut up. If you've got a solution, let's mobilize in our own community, because that don't make no sense. Because we're giving out free gems, and that's what we do. We're so happy to give out free gems because we're loving people. Yeah, no worry. Listen, this is how I done it, girl. Got my swag from here. Got my... Stop. Shh. Shh. Because that's what they do, and then they sell it back to us like it's new. Like it's fashion. Please stop. Behave yourself. Didn't you just watch me do that? Didn't I have the one that was tearing up my jeans? Come on, everyone's got ripped jeans now, and we was doing that when I was young. It was hot. My mum will be cutting my jeans, right? Here's some shorts. Don't play about with me. Now all of a sudden it's a trend. Get out of here. We've been trending. We've been doing this.
And that's been the process, right? Because when you think about major inventions and you look through history, often you're like, well, wait a minute. I didn't know that black man invented that, because the narrative was not that. So you're absolutely right. Now, here are some things that I want to stamp that we talked about today as sort of, the what now. We had the conversations about the challenges that we see, the challenges that we're facing. And just based on this conversation, I think the big gems that I'm pulling out of this is, invest in ourselves, support our own, right? That's a proactive way to start to shift the narrative, to say, I value you, your thoughts and ideas, because you're great. And this very people that we're being oppressed by will see this very idea, try to get it, monetize it, capitalize on it, and we ask no questions. So I'm grateful that you said that, because that's what it is. And it's also about not selling out. When we do have that, we're quick to sell out. We're just quick to be like, yeah, go and take it. Be unapologetic and support it. Like, I've just got some hats done. It's got some unapologetic hats. This is why a local guy just trying to do his thing. Do you think I question him? It was about $50 for the hat. A lot of people was like, well, that's expensive. I didn't care. I didn't even ask him. I didn't ask for a discount. He knew me. He even said to me, Chris, we can try and do no trade. There's no trade here. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm paying. Because I'll be happy enough to go anywhere else and spend my money. It doesn't make any sense. So I paid him the full price. To a point, I went and bought another 3 more. How about that one? Mm-hmm. How about that? Yeah, because nobody ain't asking Gucci no questions, right? About why this thing is so, So, I mean, absolutely right. The other one was really to, empathize and sympathize with our children, whether they're yours, yes or no, right? Be a mentor, to another, right? Talk about, the positive things. Be intentional about the affirmations. Be intentional about the seeds that we're sowing in our kids so that they can develop self-worth. And then, making sure that we're facilitating the opportunity to teach our own history, right? And a lot of this, again, goes back to self. We can break this cycle by making sure, that we're doing a lot of the work around self, taking care of us. And I think that was, the recurring message that I'm constantly hearing as we talk about the what now. What do we need to do? We need to keep having these conversations, absolutely, but we also need to start to shift the narrative around the way in which, folks are essentially viewing us, right? We need to take over, in our radio stations, on our podcasts, on our Facebook lives, as producers, as actors, like take ownership of our image and who we are. So that, once we start valuing,
that's right. Yeah, the whole lot that we've got all the sectors there. And I feel if we support it more, you'd be surprised. I want everybody to do one thing for me. All the sectors that you might feel like, oh, Chris, like, what do we need to do and everything? I guarantee you, just do your research, and I guarantee you have someone that's self-employed, that's someone that's working hard, doing exactly the same sector, whether it's fashion, whether it's, like you said, being iconic, whether they've got a service, whether they're doing something that's going to be self-growing, healthy eating. There's someone out there right now that we can support. So don't say that it's not out there. No, we just don't choose to look. We just don't choose to actually sometimes go outside our doorstep. And also one thing I want to say to you guys as well, the next time you see your neighbor, say hello. We need to build that community back. And if that's something that's small that we can say, just say hello. It takes 2 seconds to say 2 seconds to say hello, and it takes 2 seconds out of your time. So if that's something that you can take from me, just say hello, man.
Absolutely. Those are two really good gems. And so, Chris, tell the people where they can find you and if there's any upcoming, activities that you're facilitating that we can support with. Let us know. Tell the people.
Chris Preddy OBE, guys. So you just type that into Google. All my platforms will be there. Like I said, right now, I'm really focused on the unapologetic movement. So it's not just about the UK, it's about worldwide. It's about us being unapologetic. It's about us changing the mindset. It's about us saying to ourselves now, when I wake up in the morning, what am I doing? Not pointing the fingers first at someone else. What am I doing? Am I making the conscious decision of sometimes going to my local shopkeeper? Go to that local shopkeeper, because guess what? His margins, he can't get the same as Walmart. He can't get the same understanding. He can't bring in the bulk. So that's the reasons why you're getting buy one, get one free, but he can't do that. So give it, and sometimes it's like an extra, I don't know, something that's so small and irrelevant, but we look at it as it's not fair. Support that local business. That's what I want. I want us to change our mindset by being unapologetic. If you see me online, on the live, all is welcome. We need to share our experiences. We need to share our stories, and we need to understand with us, by doing that, you're going to help someone else. So please keep sharing, please keep supporting, but most of all, start making the time to invest in you. Start making the time to do what you need to do.
Absolutely. And Chris, tell us one more time the name of your organization.
My name of organization is Make Dreams Reality, but you can find us at chrispreddyobe.com, or you can just find us anywhere. Just type in my name and you'll find me.
Awesome. And I'm so fascinated by your title, OBE. I want you to tell the people how you got that title.
Oh, so yeah. Okay, quickly before. Okay. I got the title Chris Preddy OBE because it's a big award that you get in the UK. When you hear about Oscars, BAFTAs, all these kind of big achievements, big awards, it's meant to be like the highest that you can get. And when I first got the letter through the post, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was going to prison. Don't judge me. So like the letter came through and it said, "We have given your majesty your name in strict confidence, underline." I was like, why are you trying to underline it? And I don't want to meet the queen. Like, I don't want her to know my name. And the next line said, "We are pointing you of the order of the British Empire." I thought that was Illuminati. I said, that's it. It got me. Yeah, I knew I should have watched it on YouTube. You don't need to stop watching stuff on YouTube. I said, they tapped in, they got my IP address. Oh my gosh. I called my mum, and my mum's a Christian woman. So I'm like, "Mum, pack a sandwich, it's over." My mum was like, "Oh Jesus, what did you do?" I was like, "Mum, it's finished, it's over, it's done." And the worst thing about it, I've got no criminal record. I've never been to prison, but whatever it was, I probably would have admitted it. I would have been like, "Yeah, it was me. I don't know. Why would you do that? I'm so scared." So my friend was like, "Chris, Google it." And I Googled it, and I realized that it wasn't me getting in trouble. I realized I was getting the highest award that I can get. So you get like MBE, OBE, CBE. So people like, Mo Farah, like for our athletes and all that kind of stuff there, they will get sort of like MBEs, OBEs. And I got to meet the Queen. I was the youngest black male to receive an OBE from Her Majesty at the age of 25. And that was for helping the community, helping our young boys, helping our young girls climb out of something that I once upon a time felt like I was in. And if not, a part of me felt like I was a part of the problem. Now I'm trying to be a part of the solution. So I received the OBE at the age of 25. That's my title now. And it's a little bit overwhelming because sometimes I still look at the little notes that we have, and she's on the note. And I'm like, "What's going on, Queenie? Yeah, what's happening? High five. High five, high five, high five, high five." But it's a big achievement. But a lot of people also know that it's due to the empire, and there's so many connotations that also on the flip side of the history. And a lot of people's like, "Why did you take it? You shouldn't have took it. You shouldn't have accepted it." And I agree, and I know my history, and I know what that stems from. My whole thing at the time was I was just a young man making a difference. And as far as I'm concerned, that the fact that someone wanted to shed a little bit of light on, do you know what, this guy's doing great things, and we want to give him an award for that. I don't think that this stems from the history of what their people are saying, what that lineage is. I think for me, it was like what it stands for, what this young boy has done. And we need to stop looking at that kind of stuff and start looking at the importance of this young man came from nothing. Young boy, 16, lost his older brother, kicked out of his home, could have ended up going down many of these paths that these young boys are going down. He turned his life around. He got the OBE, and he didn't run to the distance like most people do and run for the hills and get a nice fancy car and nice fancy house. He stayed in the community. He went back to the schools, and he's still here right now.
Yes. And you know what, Chris? I'm incredibly humbled and grateful to have had you on today. You're such a beacon of light, and absolutely what you just shared, it's going to reach someone to know that, you know, sometimes when you're in the worst or the thick of it, there's something greater to come. And this is what
Absolutely.
this is all about. And so again, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, your words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And, you know, I want to keep this conversation going. And so we'll continue to uplift you and support you in the work that you're doing. I so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.